Public Enemy is one of the most successful hip-hop groups of all time. The rap collective introduced an entirely new musical genre to the world that incorporated politically charged and socially conscious lyrics, an anti-establishment message, and a philosophy that questioned authority. And perhaps no member of the group embodies this notion more than frontman Chuck D. Chuck is consistently ranked as one of the top MCs and lyricists of all time, and has taken Public Enemy's doctrine to nearly 100 countries around the world over the course of over 90 global tours. And just this past year, Public Enemy was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Well, Chuck's a hard man to track down, but he was able to join me at 3 a.m. earlier this morning to talk about the corporate takeover of music, the political issues he's currently passionate about, and the upcoming festival on May 10th that we will both be featured at, called United We Stand. I first asked him how it feels to be a part of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
No better feeling was reached than the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame night when we had the Honorable Harry Belafonte introduce us, and we paid tribute to him by, we paid tribute to him when he actually talked about us, and that was something that we had to really try to push to make happen. Because how many times do you see octogenarians, especially those of color, speak their mind about what's going on in the world, the atrocity that's going on, the malfeasance by government, and this worldwide atrocities by structural situations that are more about the haves and the 1% than the have-nots and those that are left. And Harry Belafonte spoke to that, being introduced by Spike Lee, who made it possible to include Public Enemy in film with the uses of music in film to make political statements. So that was the high point of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
And when you designed your signature Public Enemy logo, not you specifically, but the group, why did you guys decide to put a man in crosshairs? Did you feel like your group was being targeted, and if so, by whom?
Well, R&B, which is the 1980s, starting off in 1980 when Ronald Wilson Reagan became president. That was the beginning of R&B, Reagan and Bush. And being a black man, 20 years old in 1980, going through the decade of the 80s, I seen a lot of things that were highly hypocritical, the same old guard in charge, and just a total whitewashing over everything present in order to get back to the great old American spirit, for whatever that meant. So witnessing this in the 80s with the whole thing about, Reagan, I knew that being a black man or a black teenager or a black male in 1980, 82, 81, 79, 78, I knew we were targeted and not being part of, or not accepted as part of the public. Public Enemy goes back to that original thing in the Constitution that considered black people 3/5 of a human being. And with that, if the public is going to follow the document of the Constitution and we're going to be written up in it, then therefore it must be the enemy, adversary. So Public Enemy came up out of that. And on target was a B-boy at the time, which was the person that followed hip-hop, the rebellious figure that really didn't go for the okie doke. Crossed arms like Run DMC. This undercurrent of the bastardization of music.
Chuck, you said in the past that the essence of black music was in the group. Why do you think that the music industry has started to brand individual artists more and abandon that group?
This was a concentrated effort by the major record companies who are in cahoots with the radio networks. They're all what they call corp plantations, which have slave employees to do whatever it takes just to keep things into the black as opposed to the red. But when a corp plantation does not give a damn about the population on the whole and just worries about their spreadsheets and their charts and their P&Ls, then they have to be questioned. They have to be checked. And the radio stations work on that premise. The record companies, which are really banking systems, work on that connected premise. And all these things. That's why I kind of wrote a piece recently just saying that what are we going to do for about stopping hip hop from becoming the new COINTELPRO one-stop shop for the prison industrial complex.
Yeah.
Because if you create the climate and you say it's hip to actually go into this area of thuggery where they've set up these, or they created these new laws that are locking up so many people for almost like doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if a situation creates the climate and it's all about getting into the black as a profit motive, and they also have invested in prisons, then they're creating a one-stop shop by actually fulfilling the climate.
Last year, not one black artist had a #1 single on Billboard's Hot 100 for the first time in 55 years. Chuck D, what do you think that signifies about the direction of the music industry?
There's nothing wrong with Macklemore winning Best Rapper. It probably is something wrong with somebody who says that they control the category of rap music and hip hop and redefined it. The redefinition of rap music and hip hop, when there's never been a clear definition, is probably more troublesome than anything. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes down to people making statements like, well, rap music can't make political statements that actually move people. Well, my question is, who told you that? Or hip hop cannot be something to actually propel human beings to think beyond just having a good time in a 10 by 10 foot room while they're dancing. Well, who told you that? So there's a lot of misnomers out there that are floating around and being legitimized by court plantations that hip hop can also expose and point a finger at, but it still has to maintain its ground and be strong by doing it.
Sure. Tell our viewers about your role in the Occupy Free Air movement and how it's helping to fight Clear Channel's consolidation of the airwaves.
Terrestrial radio and free radio is just the waves that are in the air that can be picked up with an AM or FM receiver, small radio, whatever. And the fact that these companies been knowing this, they've controlled who's on the air, who they're going to do business with, and that's been that way for like the last 50 years. And that's just a crime when a local artist can't be heard, has zero chance of being heard locally because the airwaves are sucked up and soaked up by these court plantations that want to dictate the people.
Same songs over and over and over again by the same artists. It's amazing. It is a crime.
Yeah, but nobody, the question is like, we ask the question why and never get an answer. And you get answers, these totalitarian answers like, well, they're the ones that are popular, what people are asking for. It's like a Pavlov dog effect. It's like, well, we played it to you 100 times so you get conditioned to ask for what's been played to you.
So you guys have had 95 tours, 96 countries. How have your travels influenced your views on the notion of internationalism?
Immediately. We knew that with our point of view, we couldn't exist here in this vacuum. The minute we were able to get our passports, which is kind of derogatory. Getting a passport is like begging for a slave paper. So what difference is that from like South Africa back when you had to have your freedom papers, or you showed somebody in America that you gotta get permission to go from one plantation to another plantation because a master's told you so. Well, I just think it's derogatory for human beings, especially in the millennium, to get permission to visit the planet Earth. But we got to have a passport because governments are in charge of things. And I'm a culturalist. I'm an earthicist. I'm not a citizen of anything. I believe that culture and governments are diametrically opposed, far apart, and beware of a government that says it's in charge of culture. So I like the world, and I like to visit the world. I don't necessarily I don't like asking governments for permission to visit the Earth, which I feel all humans should have.
Chuck, We are both going to be at the Free and Equal Festival on May 10th, which is all about creating that level playing field for political candidates. Why did you sign on board of the festival?
Because I got a big voice, and I think my voice, along with my partners, can lead a genre with big voices to make an impression with music that could be just as impactful, if not more so, with the uses of technology and direct media today than the Pete Seegers, the Kingston Trio, Curtis Mayfield, Odetta, Joan Baez, people like that. You know, we should be able to make hip hop be impactful and make a statement and escape the corporate veil that just cloaks dumbassification and anti-intellectualism on the masses. I think it's the position of the artists and the artistes to combine with people who do this work tirelessly, nonstop, all the time, giving their lives into it. The least we can do as artists is bring light to that, like a prism.
Music's this universal language, and that's what's so amazing about this festival, is bringing so many artists, musicians, and just really amazing radical thought there, Chuck. And there's so much divide and conquer going on when it comes to uniting these voices outside of the establishment. Will it take more events like United We Stand to really take this alternative movement forward?
It's a shame that we're considering this radical. The whole game and trick is that they could get they could get time on their side and get a couple of generations who are really combative about it to get old and pass on and trick the new generations and throw toys at them to hold them off. And one of the biggest crimes is the MTV networks, and they spell MTV EMPTYV, because they give you nothing really. And the Booty and Thug network of BET that's hijacked hip hop and rap music. And their whole games is to extend teenage years to 35. And this has been the principle since 1990. Let's turn teenagers from 17 to 35. And when they wake up out of the fog at 36 years old, they feel that, you know, with 3 or 4 kids, they're paralyzed to move left or right. And so they got to go with the flow.
People are really waking up to this, Chuck, and that's why events like the United We Stand Festival and this show and your music, really hoping that we can bring people out of the slumber, unite, fight, resist, get back to the root, and really make a change here. Chuck D, amazing to have you on. Thank you so much.